Now, I would be in full costume for this review, but, I feel like I would damage some of it if I sat down on a beanbag, because if I recall correctly, I think I did film a review dressed up as Optimus Prime. I don't know if that was for Dark of the Moon. I know I did it for a video one time, but I was able to sit down on my bunk bed, and I don't have a bunk bed because I tore that thing out, like, earlier this year, but not the point. Basically, I've already had to repair that thing from it getting soaked around, like, a couple of weeks ago when I went to go see the early screening. So just... And I would wear a shirt, but unfortunately, I don't have one. Oh, this is the best I got, just a display for Transformers 1. And technically, funny story, well, I got two funny stories I'm gonna bring up real quick. I had my mom get me the cup, but they accidentally gave her two different ones. This without the lid. I came back to the theater and got the lid, and I've already brought this up in my last review for Bumblebee. It lights up, super cool. Anyways, I'm just gonna have that displayed up there, and I know I said I was gonna have this out by like Thursday, then I pushed it up to 20th and 27th, like just... I've already got too many videos I need to make before September ends, like trilogy reviews, which would be for The Equalizer, The Maze Runner, then the Haku Porat, if I pronounce his name correctly, and then some anime reviews talking about Chainsaw Man and then Heavenly Delusion. And besides that, I gotta catch up with not only Agatha All Along, but also the freaking Penguin series. Oh, God, why just... And if I'm being honest, I don't have any motivation to be filming any videos, but I'm, like, torturing myself into making this because I would like to talk about Transformers 1 because I've not stopped thinking about it for about, how many weeks now has it been since September 14th? I don't know, I've lost track, I'm too lazy to think, but just, yeah, I finally wrapped up my Transformers review series that I should have done about a year ago when we had gotten Rise of the Beasts in June, but I brought it back since we got another Transformers movie that's been playing for 2 weeks, and I'm hoping to God it does well. Lately, I don't know if it's been doing alright. I mean, it's at #1 from what I've heard, but just, I needed to do well. Because after the way this movie had ended, I need this planned trilogy! And before I talk about some major spoilers for Transformers 1, which, yes, I'm gonna dump spoilers. I mean, the movie's now been released 1 week later. So, quick funny story that happened when I went to go see this again at a fan screening for Transformers 1 on the 18th of September. So yeah, I had my costume. I was waiting for the bus. I don't say this. A bunch of people have asked to take pictures with me that day from the theater and like before I even head out to catch the bus, which was nice. But before the bus had came, there was a bunch of cars that were honking because they saw me in costume and everything. But I'm just gonna get cut straight to the point. So I had to take 2 different buses to get to AMC theaters because that's where the fan event screening was being held up. So yeah, I had to take another bus, and there was this old guy that may have been in his 40s or something. He was about to sit on my Optimus Prime helmet. He didn't even bother asking if I could move it or something, but before he could sit his butt down, I was lucky to grab it before he could cause some damage to it. But I was getting some very bad vibes for some reason, like just basically my spider senses were tingling. I tried my best not to make eye contact and just like look at other directions other than him, but later, before we were almost at our destination, well, my destination, there's this other guy that's just being nice to everybody, you know, like saying, hey, how's y'all's day doing? How's y'all doing? Is everyone doing alright? Just basically being friendly, and then out of nowhere, the old guy, again, probably in his 40s, I don't know, that almost sat on my Optimus Prime costume, started swearing, saying, and immediately I knew, okay, I knew there was something off with this guy. And the other dude was just like, whoa, don't say that. There are kids on this bus. But just, this dude just kept saying bad words and was just being totally rude. Now, there was another person on the bus that claimed that this dude was probably drunk, which could be the case because he nearly fell down on me. Mainly just on, on my foot. He fell on my foot. I was worried if he fell on me, my costume would be damaged, but luckily, my costume was not damaged. Actually, before he fell down, he had got up and was grabbing the dude's backpack. Not aggressively, just like got up slowly and was just grabbing it like that. Like, he may have probably been drunk. But no, while everyone else was just laughing on the bus, I was panicking, okay? I may be 18 years old, but I still feel like a goddamn child out onto the real world. I just wanted to get the hell off the bus. Luckily, we arrived at our destination. I immediately dipped the hell off of there. And I just thought that was crazy. And I'm probably never gonna want to get onto another transfer bus again after that. Now, I saw the bus driver get off and was looking for the police. I did saw a police car at the station. So, obviously, he was probably gonna report it to the police about the dude just, disturbing. Everyone on the bus, but just now I was fine. Nobody was hurt, but just that was crazy for me to experience. Now I thought I was running late to the movie because it started at 7 o'clock, but luckily I made it just in time because as I walked in, there was basically I don't know what is it called, but basically actors like talking about the movie and like, oh, thank you for coming to see our new film and hope you all enjoy. So yeah, I made it just in time, but just like, oh man, September 18th. That was an eventful day for me. Now, I could have stayed home, but why did I went through all the trouble just to go see it at a fan screening? Just so I could get a poster, which I've already explained this in one of my Transformers reviews recently. I went through all the trouble just to get the poster and then a paperclip? No, it's not a paperclip. I forgot what it's called, but I was trying to get 4 posters. Sadly, they only allowed me to get 1, but hey, it was worth the trip just to get those items. But anyways, with that out of the way, now on my thoughts with Transformers 1. So, I had heard about this movie possibly 2 years ago or last year. I don't know. All I knew was that this was an animated movie. And that, understandable, because if they were to do this in live action form, that would have costed $1 million, so animation was the easy way to go. And I know how everyone feels about animation, but just, sometimes animation is the way to go for certain stuff here and there, and animation is not just for kids. It's for everybody. Unlike Megamind 2, that is seriously straight up for kids. Because of the animation quality, because, oh my god. I still need to do a review on Megamind. But back to topic. So, this was one of my most anticipated movies for this year, because one, I'm a massive Transformers fan, and I don't know when I started hearing about this, but there was like a bunch of stuff I was hearing about Transformers 1, like how this had got the highest test scores for an animated movie, and that everyone was claiming this to be the best Transformers movie in the series. But yeah, basically this movie was just getting high praise, and what's crazy is that back in July, they had some folks see this movie 2 months early before it was released. That was just to show that Paramount Pictures were very confident with this movie, because they knew they had a banger on their hands. So yeah, I wanted to know what was so good about this movie, and just before I saw it, there were spoilers online. I'm like, damn! Oh my god, how are there already spoilers online? Luckily, I managed to dodge most. I mean, there was one I saw, but it wasn't like a big spoiler. I mean, like, where do I begin? I didn't even take notes for this. I'm kind of going off script here. So yeah, I enjoyed the trailers. The second one I enjoyed more than the first teaser trailer. I know why folks were not a fan of how this movie was looking thanks to the first teaser trailer, and let me just tell you this. Having to see the movie as of 2 weeks ago, early, as I brought my little siblings with me. Yeah, believe the hype, because it's real. This movie is definitely the best Transformers movie in the entire series. It's even better than the live-action films. And why is that? Because we get to know more about the Transformers. This is an origin story, because this is Revenge of the Sith and X-Men First Class combined into one. And this is something I've come to realize recently. I don't know jack squat about the Transformers lore from the live-action movies, mainly from the Bayverse films. I think they're doing faithful a little bit for the rebooted timeline with Bumblebee and Rise of the Beast. But I've always thought and wondered about the origins with Transformers and just how the War of Cybertron began and how Megatron and Optimus Prime became enemies, because they seem to have been good friends. We get to explore their friendship in this movie. It's honestly one of the best parts of Transformers 1, is just the relationship of Optimus Prime and Megatron, who were originally Orion Pax and D-16 before they had became who they were basically destined to become, I guess. But no, this movie blew me away. Now, I'll say this, there are definitely some moments where it can feel like a kid's movie, but let me tell you this right off the bat. When the serious moments happen in this movie, they happen when it's like necessary, not like similar with Thor: Love and Thunder, where there's always a joke that happens right after a serious moment had happened or was happening or something, but just, no. This movie is quite a little bit dark, mainly around like the last couple of minutes or so. Now, what are my thoughts on the voice casting? So, I gotta say, this was a solid cast, and I definitely was up for Chris Hemsworth as Optimus Prime. Now, Peter Cullen will always be Optimus Prime, but when I heard that Chris Hemsworth, the God of Thunder, would be voicing Optimus, I was like, oh, okay. Now, the one casting I was hesitant on was for the voice of Megatron, which would be Brian Tyree Henry, if I pronounce his name correctly. You would know him as Miles' dad into the Spider-Verse films, or one of the Eternals from the MCU, or Lemon from Bullet Train. definitely go watch that movie. That movie is peak cinema. But once we got the second trailer for this movie and having to hear more lines from him, I'm like, okay, alright, I take back any negative thing I said, and having to see him in this movie, he might just be the heart and soul of Transformers 1. Now, technically, I would say he's the main villain, but not for the entire movie, because if you know, it shouldn't be a big spoiler, it was even shown in the trailers, he becomes Megatron at the very end. Now, who would be the real villain of this movie? Sentinel Prime. But before I talk about Sentinel Prime, back to Megatron. He carried this movie, and any negative thing I said, or with me being hesitant on him voicing Megatron, I want to take it all back. He knocked it out of the park. Megatron was seriously the best part about this movie, besides his friendship he had with Orion Pax, aka Optimus Prime. But yeah, like I mentioned earlier, he's not like the main villain for the entire movie, because now he does turn bad at the end, but what I would say is the real main villain would be Sentinel Prime, who, once it was revealed that John Hamm was voicing Sentinel Prime, I'm like, oh, wait, Sentinel Prime's gonna be in this movie? I definitely had some questions about his involvement in the movie, because me knowing Sentinel Prime, the only thing I knew about him was that he was some type of mentor to Optimus, and that he was basically a bad guy in Dark of the Moon. But I knew that he was going to be totally different in this one, because, again, Transformers 1 and the Bayverse films are not connected. Do not listen to that one producer for all these Transformers movies where he's saying, oh, Transformers 1 takes place 3 billion years before the Bayverse. They are not connected. Transformers 1 is set in its own world, while we have the rebooted timeline, which would be Bumblebee and Rise of the Beast, and then the upcoming Transformers and G.I. Joe crossover. Well, the Bayverse had died pretty much 7 years ago with The Last Knight. But yeah, I would say Sentinel Prime is the main villain from this movie, because it is revealed, there's a later twist in the movie where he was responsible for killing all 12 or 13 of the Primes, all because he wanted the, oh, wait a sec, be right back, the Matrix of Leadership. That's right, I just handmade this thing. It took me about not less than 24 hours. I stayed up late on this. When? Oh, this was like about a couple weeks ago. Not a couple weeks ago. It was basically last week I had made this, but hey, this turned out nice. But yeah, I should have known something was up, but unfortunately, I didn't even call it because I wasn't sure if he'd be bad in this universe or not. Knowing that I barely know jack squat about the Transformers canon and lore, but my sister called it immediately. She saw that coming a mile away. And when I watched it for the second time, knowing that he's bad, having to see him interact with D16 and Orion Pax for the first time, and him bringing about how they could try to inspire the miners so they could work hard, having to see the movie and see how, oh, I could see the signs were there. Because he has some of the Transformers as miners who had cogs that allowed them to transform, but since he removed them, he had them become miners so they could mine Energon in order to pay Sentinel Prime's debt with the Quisitons? What the hell are the Quisitons? If I even pronounced them correctly. But having to see this movie, I gotta say this. The first teaser trailer was very deceiving. I mean, when I first watched the teaser trailer, of course for a trailer reaction, I had a totally different idea of how this trilogy was gonna look. Because I figured Orion and D16 along with Ileta 1 and Bumblebee would have to save Sentinel and the Transformers from these villains that I thought were gonna be the villains for this movie. And basically, once we had this third trilogy, we would have had Optimus and Megatron become full enemies. And then the second movie, D16, would have basically become Megatron, but nope! Once they released the second trailer, I basically had a better idea of oh wait, they're gonna go full, they're gonna, oh, okay, he's gonna go full bad in this movie. But yeah, while the second trailer was a lot better than the first teaser trailer, I gotta say, I would say both trailers, but mainly the teaser trailer does not do this movie justice. That, I say, is just completely misleading what this whole movie was about. I mean, who is advertising this movie? I mean, it's barely doing well. I mean, I think it's doing alright. I don't know. But just basically you had some terrible marketing with the first teaser trailer. I blame whoever thought it would be a good idea to have that be the first teaser trailer just to show, oh hey, we have a kids movie coming out that is Transformers. No, this is not a kids movie. I mean, it's for both kids and adults, but this movie is dark. And how is it dark? Oh, would it be kid-friendly if we saw a robot rip another robot in half? Like a Kit Kat! Which, I gotta say, Sentinel Prime was a total scumbag in this movie. You could say he was a piece of scrap metal, which something tells me it's a candidate for him to be a POS in every single Transformers media. And I'm guessing this is what he's supposed to look like instead of this. I need to do my research on the Transformers lore. But I gotta say, most of the voice actors did very well voicing these Transformers, along with Chris Hemsworth, besides Brian voicing as Megatron. I mean, like I said, Megatron's like the heart and soul for this movie. He basically carried it, but what was also one of the things I was invested in the most, and what I loved about this movie, was the friendship of how Orion Pax and D16 went from friends to becoming mortal enemies once they had became Optimus Prime and Megatron. And there was a scene folks had been praising that was like on the same level as A Leap of Faith from Into the Spider-Verse. And once that scene happened, I think I had got immediate chills. I mean, no, like that whole scene where like that was technically where I was spoiled on. It wasn't a video, it was like a slideshow of an image of Megatron about to shoot Orion Pax, and I'm like, ah, damn it! Does it count as a spoiler? I mean, technically, it's not a big spoiler. They're gonna have a fallout at the very end. But having to see the whole scene play out, oh my god, no, this is just, I don't have the words to describe it, but just the last 30 minutes were crazy. I mean, I was enjoying the final battle and everything, but as soon as the fan, all bets were off, because just throughout this entire movie, once the Transformers learned the truth about Sentinel Prime earlier around like the second act of the movie, D16 was on a revenge path. He straight up wanted to kill Sentinel Prime, and he got what he wanted. Sadly, his best friend got in the way of trying to succeed on killing Sentinel Prime, and I gotta say, it was heartbreaking to see him betray his best friend with just these simple words: "I'm done saving you." And immediately just let him go. Oh my god, my jaw had to have been dropped on the floor. I mean, like I said, I was slightly spoiled for that, but time to see that play out. That just, what? But this is easily gonna be my favorite scene in this entire movie, because it doesn't just end there. I mean, like, that whole entire scene will be my favorite. Well, it's very heartbreaking. It's also awesome at the same time, because we get to see both Orion Pax and D16 become Optimus Prime and Megatron at the same time. Oh my god, I'm flabbergasted. Is that the right word I should be saying right now? I could be praising it too much, and yeah, it could be getting a little bit overhyped or overrated or something. Maybe, but it deserves it all, okay? This movie gave me everything, well, almost everything I would have wanted to learn about the Transformers canon lore. And why do I mean almost everything? If I had to bring up any negatives for this movie, it would be that this was not 3 hours long. This movie has a runtime of 1 hour and 40 minutes. I would have watched 3 hours of this. Give me more! I need Transformers 2 and 3! I need to see more! But yeah, my only negative, it wasn't long. I wanted to see more, because like, I got invested. I got to learn a little bit about the Transformers canon through this movie, with how they became best friends and how they had became mortal enemies. Like, this is seriously one of the best origin stories I've seen for a movie. So yeah, if it isn't obvious, I seriously love this movie, and as I will have a soft spot for the Bayverse films, because I grew up with mainly the first three, but I'm sorry, this is easily the best. This is going at number 1. Okay, it deserves to be at number 1. And yeah, I'm obviously gonna give it a 10 out of 10. This is definitely gonna be one of my favorite movies that came out in 2024. It's at my top 3, actually. Well, for my top 10 favorite movies of 2024. I didn't expect it to get all that high, but just like, no. This movie was incredible. And like I mentioned, the only negative I have is that this movie wasn't long. The only positives I have was I loved seeing their friendship with Orion Pax and D16. I enjoyed most of the characters and the cast in here. The voice acting was pretty good. And I guess I'm forgetting to mention about Bumblebee, who I could say he could maybe come off annoying at times, but I wouldn't say that as a negative, because it's probably because I'm not used to hearing Bumblebee talk a lot, because he talks through a freaking radio. And as I mentioned in my Bumblebee review, I'm back and forth if I should have him talk through radio or have Bumblebee talk with a regular voice instead through a radio. So I won't have that as a negative. You know what? I actually doubt he'll become an annoyance for some people, because Bumblebee was a standout in this movie. Badassatron. How was that? That was probably bad and most likely cringe as hell. And there were definitely some funny moments, I will say. There's some that are hit and miss, but so far, I had some hits with some certain funny moments here and there. And the third act is probably gotta be my favorite that I could rewatch on a loop. I don't know where this could be at for like my favorite final battles in the Transformers movies. Could be at 5 or 3, we shall see. I don't know. But I definitely enjoyed how this movie had ended. Well, it was definitely heartbreaking and devastating to see the fallout of Orion Pax and D16. Because basically Orion Pax had died and then came back to life as freaking Optimus Prime. But at the very end, it is revealed that we get to know how the Autobots became the Autobots. Because technically, before the fall and everything, there was no Autobots or Decepticons. They didn't exist until Optimus Prime and Megatron were basically born. So obviously once Optimus got the leader of Matrix, he gave everyone back their cogs so they have their ability to transform and became the Autobots. And there are 2 post-credit scenes. One's a rather funny one of B-127 accidentally killing his fake friends with his knife hands. Well, the second one, which don't know why they had it in the trailer. I'm a little like conflicted how I feel about this, but the second one is a bit hype, where we get to see how Megatron and the High Guard become the Decepticons. And since that's supposed to set up the sequel, I need that sequel now, okay? I need to see this movie. I need this planned trilogy, so y'all need to go see this movie. Even if you're not a Transformers fan, you'll become one after you watch this movie. Because you'll basically get to learn about them if you check this movie out. Or if you know and you're just not into Transformers, go see it just for the friendship of Orion Pax and D16. Their friendship carries this movie. And it definitely has some awesome action, I will say. And as for the animation, I gotta give it praise for it. It's not bad animation. It's pretty good. Well, not as good as Spider-Verse animation, but nowhere as bad as the animation for Megamind 2. But overall, the animation is pretty good, not gonna lie. With that being said, I think those are just my thoughts I can give for Transformers 1. I definitely should have taken notes, but oh well, I guess if I forget to mention something, which actually, one more thing I shall say before I end off here. Having to see this movie, like, there are moments in the live-action movies, which, again, they don't connect, but I would say if you watch this movie, you would have a better idea of how they became to be. And actually, one more thing. This is something I've now come to realize that I now need to bring up. In the live-action movies, Megatron just came off as just a villain, a bad guy. In this one, I had a better understanding, so, like, this Megatron, I would prefer him over the Megatron in the live-action movies. This is probably my favorite I've seen so far. And probably the best written we've gotten of Megatron in the Transformers media. But yeah, even though it's not connected to the Bayverse films or anything, certain moments you've seen with Optimus and Megatron, like this one moment from the last night, like no, this moment hits harder now having to see Transformers 1.
Brothers once.
Oh my god! This movie has no right to be that damn good! Well, that being said, those are just my thoughts with Transformers 1 that is now playing in theaters. And here's one last thing I shall say before I end it off here. Not only go check this movie out in theaters, go check out another robot movie that just came out recently, which I'm a little upset that DreamWorks delayed the Wild Robot a week later because they were afraid that their movie would not do well because of Transformers 1. No. They made a big mistake. We could have had a Barbenheimer event, just having 2 different robot films playing in theaters. And having to see the Wild Robot, actually, as of 2 days ago, I would recommend seeing both in theaters because they are both a 10 out of 10. Especially the Wild Robot, because oh my god, I almost shed a tear, but you will definitely shed tears watching that movie. And I don't even know what's gonna be the best anime movie for this year. There's like 3 that come to mind, whether that be the Wild Robot, Transformers 1, or Ultraman Rising. But those 3 have to be my favorite anime movies that we've gotten this year. So yeah, do yourself a favor and go see not only Transformers 1, but also the Wild Robot in theaters and have a double feature film, seeing 2 different robot films in theaters. And if you have seen Transformers 1, be sure to let me know your thoughts, comment down below. Now, I'd say I'll see you guys in the next video, but I'm gonna do this the old-fashioned way, since it's a Transformers video.
I am Optimus Prime, and I send this message to any surviving Autobots taking refuge among the stars. We are here. We are waiting.